What's a split-second decision that changed your life forever? When I was 14 years old, my mom suddenly decided she wanted to move to Colorado. Apparently it was a place she had always wanted to see, so next thing I knew, we were living in the ultra-small town of Limon, Colorado. I was not happy about this at all. My brother, who was 19 at the time, had stayed in South Carolina. All of my friends were still in South Carolina. I was miserable. I spent my freshman year in Limon and hated almost everything about it. The one part I didn't hate was that my freshman class of 30 students included 5 guys and 25 girls. That was fun. On the other hand, I was the biggest kid in school, so even playing football didn't help me in that arena. One day, about a week after school let out for summer, I was sitting in my bedroom listening to music when I suddenly really wanted to hang out with my brother. I didn't even think about it. I grabbed my rucksack that I used for camping, loaded it up with clothes, my radio, and some tapes. This was 1990, and I walked out the door. I was going to hitchhike the almost 1,500 miles to South Carolina. It took me 63 hours to get there. To this day, I am amazed at how easy it actually was and how fast I made it there. What's even more amazing is that when I showed up at my aunt's front door, my brother was living with her after we moved. It was my mom who met me at the door. As soon as she got home from work and I wasn't there, she knew what I had done and where I was going. Since she was able to drive straight through, she made the trip far quicker than I did. My mom was angry, but she was just as relieved that I was safe, so she agreed that we could stay for 1 week before we headed back to Limon. That was on a Friday. The following Wednesday was June 6, 1990. That date might not matter to most people, but it was very important to us because of this. Limon marks 20 years since the devastating tornado. A tornado ripped through the town, destroying almost half of it, including the apartment we were living in at the time. If we hadn't been in South Carolina, I would have been home when it came through and likely would not be alive right now. Oddly enough, this would not be the last time something like that happened to me. In 2010, I made the split-second decision to move back to South Carolina again, leaving behind my apartment in Joplin, Missouri. I had already been planning to move, but my plan had been to go to Florida to be near my parents. At the last minute, my mom told me not to come because the Space Center had just laid off 10,000 NASA employees, and that was a job market I did not want to try to compete in during those hard times. I could have stayed in Joplin, but I had already sold off most of my furniture, so I just decided, screw it, I'll go back to South Carolina. A year later, Joplin was hit by an F5 tornado that destroyed almost 25% of the town, including the apartment I had been living in when I was there. Combined with the fact that an entire street I lived on in South Carolina was destroyed by a tornado a couple years after I moved away, and the fact that I left South Carolina months before Hurricane Hugo hit and again just before Hurricane Andrew hit, my friends joke that if I ever move away, they are all coming with me.